Your savings account is making you poorer. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it mathematically. Right now, the average savings account in this country pays somewhere between 0.5% and 2% interest. Inflation in 2025 ran at around 3.4%. So every single month, you leave money sitting in that account, money you worked for, lost sleep over, said no to vacations for. It is quietly losing purchasing power. The bank is holding your money, lending it out at 7%, 8%, sometimes 12%, and handing you back a fraction of a percent. And we call this being responsible. I want you to sit with that for a second, because everything you were taught about money, save more, spend less, be patient, wasn't wrong exactly, but it was incomplete. And incomplete advice, followed faithfully, can hurt you just as badly as no advice at all. I want to introduce you to what I call the saver's paradox. Here's how it works. You're told that saving money is safe, so you save. You feel responsible, virtuous even. But the moment inflation outpaces your interest rate, which it does most years, your savings account isn't a vault. It's a slow drain. You're not storing money. You're watching it evaporate, just in a way too gradual to feel. Think of it like this. Imagine you caught 100 fish, and you're proud of that. But you're keeping them in a net with holes slightly bigger than the fish. Every day, a few slip out. You can't see it happening. You check every morning, and the pile looks about the same. But 6 months later, you've got 60 fish, and you never felt the loss. That's your savings account. Now, I'm not telling you to stop saving entirely. You need an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses, liquid, accessible. That's not negotiable. But beyond that baseline, the money you're hoarding just in case isn't protecting you, it's betraying you. So if saving isn't the answer, what is? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. 5 shifts, 5 ways to think about and move your money differently in 2026 that actually build wealth instead of just preserving the feeling of it. Point 1, stop saving money, start buying assets. Let me tell you about 2 people I know. I'll call them Mara and David. Mara and David both earn roughly the same income, around $58,000 a year, which is close to the median household income in the U.S. For 5 years, Mara saved diligently. Every month, $400 went into her savings account. At the end of 5 years, she had about $24,000. She felt great. She felt safe. David took that same $400 a month and put it into a simple index fund, a fund that tracks the S&P 500. He didn't pick stocks. He didn't watch charts. He just bought a tiny slice of the 500 largest companies in America every single month. The S&P 500 has averaged around 10% annual returns over the last 50 years. After 5 years, David had roughly $30,000, and that gap widens every year that passes. Now here's the thing people miss. Mara worked for every dollar she saved, every single one. She traded her time, her energy, her presence at the dinner table to earn that money. David worked for his too, but then his money started working for him. That's the difference between saving and investing. Saving is storing your labor. Investing is putting your labor to work. The word asset sounds intimidating. It sounds like something rich people have. But an asset is just anything that grows in value or generates income over time. A stock, a rental property, a side business, even a skill that earns you more money is a kind of asset. When you buy an asset, you're not spending money. You're converting one form of wealth into another, from cash, which depreciates, into something that compounds. Think of it like planting versus storing seeds. You can keep your seeds in a jar forever. They'll stay seeds. Or you can plant them and one seed becomes 100. Saving is keeping seeds in a jar. Investing is planting them. Ask yourself this: of the money I've saved in the last 3 years, how much of it is planted and how much of it is still sitting in the jar? Here's your action step. Open an investment account, a Roth IRA if you're in the US, or an ISA if you're in the UK, or whatever tax-advantaged account exists in your country, and automate a transfer to it every month. Start with whatever you can, $50, $100. The habit matters more than the amount right now. Point 2, your income is the engine, not the destination. Here's a belief that quietly destroys people's financial lives: the idea that if you just earn enough, everything else will work out. I've met people earning $200,000 a year who are broke, not figuratively, literally living paycheck to paycheck, with car payments and mortgage payments and subscription services eating every dollar before it can become anything. And I met people earning $40,000 a year who are quietly, systematically building something real. The difference isn't income, it's what they believe income is. Most people treat their income as the finish line. When I earn more, I'll invest. When I earn more, I'll start. When I earn more. But income is not the destination. Income is the engine. An engine doesn't take you anywhere on its own. You need to steer. You need a direction. Income without direction is just motion. Fast, exhausting, and circular. A study from the National Endowment for Financial Education found that 70% of lottery winners end up broke within 5 years. 70%. These are people who received hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars, and they lost it, not because they were bad people or stupid people, but because they didn't know how to direct the engine. They had power without steering. So what does steering look like? It looks like having a clear answer to the question, when money comes in, where does it go first? Not where does it go eventually, first. Because money that doesn't have a destination when it arrives will find one on its own. And the destinations it chooses, new shoes, a bigger TV, one more dinner out, are never the ones that build anything. The metaphor I want you to hold on to here is a river and a dam. If you let a river flow without structure, it spreads out, gets shallow, waters nothing deeply. But build a dam, direct it, and suddenly you have power. You have force. The water didn't change, the intention did. Ask yourself, when my paycheck hits my account, does it have a plan or does it just disappear into the week? Here's your action step. Before you do anything else with your next paycheck, move a fixed amount, even 5%, directly into an investment or savings with purpose account. Pay your future self first. Every other bill can wait 24 hours. Your future can't. Point 3, debt is a subscription to poverty. I want to talk about something no one says plainly enough. High interest debt, credit cards, payday loans, certain personal loans, is not a financial tool. It is a machine designed to extract wealth from people who don't have much of it. The average credit card interest rate in 2025 sat at just over 21%. 21%. You know what the S&P 500 returned last year? About 24%. An unusually good year. But over the long run, we said, it averages 10%. So if you're paying 21% interest on credit card debt while trying to build wealth at 10% returns, you are losing. You are running a race with a rope tied around your ankle. I think about debt like a subscription. You know how streaming subscriptions feel harmless? $15 here, $12 there. But add them up, and some people are paying $150 a month for shows they barely watch. High interest debt is the same thing. It's a recurring charge for money you already spent. And just like those subscriptions, it's easy to forget it's even running in the background until you look at your bank statement and wonder where everything went. Now, here's where I want to be nuanced, because not all debt is equal. A mortgage at 4% on a property that appreciates at 6% a year is not a problem. It's a tool. A student loan that got you a skill that earns you significantly more is probably worth it. But a credit card balance at 21% on a vacation you took in 2023, that vacation is costing you money every single month. It's still happening. You're still paying for it. The fastest guaranteed return you will ever get on your money is paying off high-interest debt. Not investing, not crypto. Paying off a 21% card gives you an immediate, risk-free 21% return. There is no investment on earth that offers that with zero risk. Think of it this way. Imagine someone is punching a hole in the bottom of your boat. You could try bailing water faster, earn more, invest more, or you could plug the hole first. Plugging the hole isn't exciting. Nobody makes YouTube videos called, "I paid off my credit card." But it is the single most leveraged financial move millions of people could make right now. Ask yourself, how much am I paying in interest every month? And what would that money become if it were invested instead? Here's your action step. List every debt you have, the balance and the interest rate. Anything above 8% deserves your immediate aggressive attention. Use the avalanche method, highest interest rate first, and throw every extra dollar at it until it's gone. Point 4, build a second stream before you need one. Most people build their financial life on a single rope. One job, one income, one source of everything. Rent, groceries, the kids' school, the car payment. And that's fine until the rope frays. And ropes fray. Companies downsize. Industries shift. In 2020, 22 million Americans lost their jobs in the span of 2 months. Not because they were bad at what they did, not because they weren't trying hard, because they were entirely dependent on a single source of income in a world that doesn't guarantee stability. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make a case for why building a second income stream is not a luxury for ambitious people. It is insurance for every person. Now, when I say second income stream, I don't mean you need to start a business this weekend. I don't mean you need to quit your job and become an influencer. I mean this. Is there anything you know, anything you make, anything you can do that someone else would pay you for? Even occasionally, freelance skills, teaching something you know, selling things you no longer need, creating digital content, renting out a room or a car or equipment. These are not get-rich-quick schemes. They're hedges, small secondary flows of money that over time reduce your vulnerability and expand your options. The people I've watched build real wealth weren't necessarily smarter or harder working than average, but almost all of them had more than one income source before they needed it. They didn't build a second rope because theirs broke. They built it while the first one was holding just fine. Think of it like a building with load-bearing walls. One wall holds the whole structure. If that wall cracks, earthquake, flood, anything, the building collapses. Add a second load-bearing wall, a third, and the building can survive damage. Your income works exactly the same way. Here's your action step. This week, write down 3 things you could do right now with your existing skills that could generate even $200 a month outside your main job. You don't have to act on all 3. Just know what they are. Options are a form of wealth. Point 5, time is the variable that changes everything. I want to end the main section of this conversation with the one thing that matters more than income, more than strategy, more than any investment you'll ever choose. Time. Not time management, not productivity, just the raw mathematical power of time in the context of compound interest. Because most people intellectually understand compound interest, but they don't feel it. And the gap between understanding something and feeling it is where most people lose. Here's a number I want you to hold. $7,000 $500. If a 22-year-old invests $7,500 once, just once, into an account averaging 10% annual returns and never adds another dollar, by the time they're 65, that $7,500 becomes approximately $422,000. $422,000 from a single $7,500 investment made once at 22. Now here's the painful side of that number. If that same person waits until they're 32, just 10 years later, and makes the same single investment of $7,500, at 65, they have about $163,000. They didn't do anything differently. They invested the same amount. They chose the same fund. They just waited 10 years. And that decision cost them $250,000. Time isn't just a factor in wealth building, it's the factor. And the tragic thing is that time is the only resource in this entire conversation that you cannot buy back, cannot earn back, cannot hustle your way back to. Every other mistake in personal finance is recoverable. You can pay off debt. You can increase your income. You can change your spending habits, but you cannot go back to being 22. You can only start today. There's a Chinese proverb I love. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Most people hear that and nod and move on, but I want you to really hear it. The grief of the first sentence 20 years ago is not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to make the urgency of now feel real, because every single day you wait is a day of compounding you won't get back. Here's your action step. Whatever you decide to do differently after watching this, start it this week. Not next month, not when things settle down, this week. Because a year from now, you will wish you had started today. I know what some of you are thinking right now. This all sounds great, but I literally don't have money to invest. I'm barely keeping up. Gas, groceries, rent, it all goes. There's nothing left. I hear you, and I'm not going to dismiss that. For a lot of people, that's not an excuse. It's a reality. And any financial advice that doesn't acknowledge the reality of tight budgets isn't advice. It's performance. But here's what I want to gently push back on. Most people who say they have nothing left have never actually tracked where everything goes. Not because they're careless, because it's painful. Looking at your spending honestly is uncomfortable. But when people do it, they almost always find something. A subscription they forgot about. A habit that costs more than they realized. A pattern they can shift. I'm not asking you to find $500 a month. I'm asking you to find $20. $20 invested in an index fund every month over 30 years at 10% returns becomes just over $45,000. That's not nothing. That's a car. That's part of a down payment. That's an emergency fund that prevents the next financial crisis in your life. The amount is almost irrelevant at the start. The identity is what matters. The moment you become someone who invests, even a tiny amount, even imperfectly, your relationship with money begins to change. You start thinking like someone with a future, not just a present. And if genuinely, truly, there is nothing, then the answer isn't to invest. The answer is to work on income, even $100 a month from a side skill, until there is something. But most people have something, they just haven't found it yet. I want to leave you with one image. Imagine two rivers. They start at the same point, the same mountain, the same snowmelt. For the first 100 meters, they look identical. But one river flows downhill over smooth rock, fast, effortless, picking up speed as it goes. The other river hits rough terrain early, boulders, friction, slow starts. After 50 miles, the first river is wide, powerful, carving through valleys. The second is still fighting the same rocks. Your money works the same way. Started on smooth terrain, clear of high-interest debt, directed toward assets, automated and consistent. And it gathers momentum you never have to manufacture again. It flows on its own. It compounds. It carries you. but put it on rough terrain, disorganized, reactive, drained by interest payments and impulse, and every year feels like the last one. Not because you're failing, but because the terrain is working against you. You can change the terrain. That's the whole point. You don't need to be rich to start. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to take one of the ideas from today and do something with it before this video is 24 hours old. Open the account, make the transfer, write the list, plant one seed, because wealth isn't built in the moments of big decision. It's built in the small, quiet, consistent ones, the ones nobody sees, the ones that don't feel dramatic, the ones you make when you're tired and it would be easier not to. That's where it happens. In the ordinary Tuesday when you transfer $50 anyway. That's the real secret. Not a strategy, not a trick, a decision made quietly, again and again, that your future is worth protecting today.